was a rough night. You don't really, you don't sleep straight through on nights like this. You get about 20 minutes sleep, and then you're up again shivering. And I think first I'll work on improving my my shelter and make sure that I try to get a better night's sleep tonight. One way or the other, I've got to get busy. All right, so this is going to have to be the first thing I deal with today. I know that I'm going to be stuck here another night, and I don't really have the option of just leaving my shelter the way it was. I do need to improve upon my circumstances, at least my sleeping circumstances. And so often I have seen where people have, well, they've built their shelter, but they didn't build the bed part of their shelter first, and that's really vital. I myself have made beds that were, half a foot from the ground, and in the morning I wake up, I'm literally on the snow. And last night I was a little too low to the ground. So this is what I've been able to come up with so far. I was able to gather up some material to create a lot more loft. So I've got a good deal of loft here. That should insulate me from the ground, and I still have to make this bed, which is going to take a lot of effort. I'm alone on this one, and making a bed like this on your own is not the easiest, so I'll have to pace myself. One thing I can do, though, is I can make use of the local sort of growth that is all around it. That'll help to protect and block from the wind, and then I just gather as much of this kind of material as I can to create the loft, create the insulation that I need so that tonight I get a good night's sleep. I'm fortunate that in this particular area, this kind of material is available. Sometimes you can find yourself in a position where there's just nothing to work with, but this should be okay. Oh, man. Again, it's a lot harder when there's only one of you. If there was a second person, I'd be able to kind of work back and forth from each side of the structure. It's better if I gather stuff that is really close at hand when it comes to the shelter building side of it. There's no point in working too hard and going really far away to get the materials that I need. This is another mistake people make. They set their beds up ready for the shelter and everything's in its place, but they don't actually crawl inside to make sure that they're going to fit it. And God, how many times I've seen that happen where people crawl into their shelter and then their feet are sticking out at the end and saying, well, you know what? Shelter's too small, bed's too small. But I think I'll be okay in this case if I kind of need to roll around or move over. It's not that bad. Might have even made this a little bit too big now that I think about it. It becomes a bit spacious, and you really want to try to find that kind of middle ground for the shelter you make. It's got to be a combination of small enough and tight enough that all of the heat stays in with you and keeps you warm, and yet you need it roomy enough so that you can actually turn over and move around. It's very frustrating to crawl into a shelter and not be able to move at all. I hate when I make a shelter like that. So I think this time my experience has paid off, and I'll be better off. It's time to take a look at what I have with me, and hopefully I've got a few things I can work with. Let me show you what I've got here. So There's a little bit of food in here that I can manage with for now. I don't see it lasting all that long, though. I may have to try to dehydrate some of it in the sun so that it lasts a little longer and stays safe to consume. But for now, this will be a start. I think what I can really do from here on in is get out of my shelter and look to construct some traps and snares and see what I can catch. All right, time to get busy. All right, I think what I'd like to try to do now is to find ways to just get more sustenance. And one of the best ways to do that is if you can set up traps and snares that work when you don't have to. The more the better, actually. Then that's a terrific way to just add food to your larder and make certain that you don't starve in a situation like this. So, all right, you can see now I've made a fairly intricate bird trap here. What I've done is just using my knife, really handy in a situation like this. I spent a little bit of time just sort of carving and whittling this down and made actual perches here. You see there's some perches there, so that when a bird will actually come in here, and then the idea is that the bird lands here. Now I actually went out into the forest, the surrounding areas here, the woods, and I was able to pick different seeds from some of the different flowers and plants that are around, and I've put them into this funnel that I've crafted out of plant material, so the idea is the birds will come and land here, and then all I really have to do is kind of lay underneath this, and when the bird lands, I just lunge, like I lunge up and just, just like, right, just pull them right off the perch here, and then I think I could probably get quite a few at a sitting, and get myself a good little meal, actually. So, and it's a good idea in a situation like this to set up as many as you can. So, and let me show you. What I've done, as you can see here, I don't know if I can show it to you there, you see all of that. Well, I happen to have some of these peanuts in my emergency supplies, and so sometimes you have to do this. You have to kind of just make a sacrifice for, just being able to get something even better. So I'm going to sacrifice some of this emergency ration here to see if I can then catch an even bigger bird on a tray like this. And if not a big bird, perhaps potentially a mammal, squirrels, rats, that kind of thing may come up for this. So and we'll see what happens. I think I see some birds coming in right now, but we'll see what happens. Okay, well, there's no question that one of the things I'm going to have to remain quite vigilant about is local wildlife. There's a lot of apex predators in this area. So what I want to do is, what I did do is I took the lessons that I learned while in Africa constructing a thorn shelter to protect me from lions. And I've done the same thing here. I've found some local material that I've been able to put up here to create this barrier between myself and the incredibly dangerous wildlife that is in this area. You can kind of see them in behind the barrier, just sort of, just kind of waiting on their meal, you know what I'm saying? So I want to be really careful because really I don't know how long this barrier could hold out. It's probably only a matter of time before some of the bigger predators are able to break through this or dig under or what have you. So I'll have to make sure that no holes appear in this, and it keeps them on that side and me on this side, or it could be an extremely dangerous affair. Now with that in mind, I also want to see about making a trail out of here. You can see just how much the trail in this area is pretty thick. It's pretty grown in, but if I'm able to cut through this, I can get to the other end. It'll create a clear pathway in case I do need to make any kind of escape. If an apex predator were to come in close or, get a hold of me, I want to have a good escape in a situation like this. You must always have an escape hatch somehow if you're in a bit of a trapped-in situation. And so I'm gonna work on cutting through this right now. Take the lessons I learned from the Amazon jungle and make sure that I have a clear pathway. as you can see, it's going to take a bit of work to cut through to the other side, but I sort of have kind of been able to put together this makeshift gathering bag here so that I can actually weave this together with cattail roots, and it'll catch a lot of the cutting that I'm doing through this, well, really through this jungle. And then I can save those and use them for insulation later if I need to put on top of the shelter in case it gets a little bit colder. The real key here in doing this kind of improvement on your shelter and on your survival situation at a time like this, when it's this hot in the middle of the day, is to remember that you can't allow yourself to become sweaty, because if you do, then later on at night, when it cools down, you can get a terrible, terrible chill. I do remember that a very, very wise man actually once taught me. He said, "You sweat, well, I can't remember the rest, but it was really good. It was, yeah." All right. Well, I really don't have my shelter built up for being able to have a fire inside. So this time I'm going to have to keep a fire going outside at least for one more night. And so I've been able to go out into the forest, and I was able to just using my hands, just break some branches and get a little bit of wood that hopefully will last a while. And I have no matches, I have no lighter, but I do have my knife and a striker, and these can work really well. The advantage of the strikers are that they pretty much last forever. So whereas you run out of matches, you run out of fuel for your lighter, you never run out of a spark. There we go. There we go. Now, people always get upset when they see me use the sharp end of my knife to do that, but I don't mind. I always do it right down at the bottom end here, and I just like that. Now, the only thing that I have to catch a spark this time around is a little bit of this fire starter. All right. Now, what I'll do is I'll pull some off, okay, and you end up with a little bit of a fuzzy bit right there, and maybe I'll put it right here. Some of this tinder that I've been able to find, and hopefully I can get it to take and get a fire going, and I'll be much warmer tonight than I was last night. Plus, I've also got the new foundation for the bed that I built up. But let's give this a shot here. A bit better move that out of the way. Okay, there we go. There we go. That was a lucky one. All right. So what I want to do is I want to be real careful and try to get this tinder to take. Hopefully it will. Looks like it's catching right now. You don't want to jump up really quickly here and just kick everything flying. You want to take your time and let it catch. I don't want to have to redo this, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Probably should have done it more at the bottom there. Get a bit of wood going here. I think I'm going to get this to take. That was close. Wasn't sure if it was going to keep going, but it looks like it's taking fine. And I spent a long time just going around. You have to get your tinder, and you have to be fairly meticulous about it. You have to take your time. I'll spend upwards of an hour getting my fire materials together, maybe even longer on occasion. And if it's raining, it could be 3 hours just to get my material together, because I don't want to get this much flame going and then not have the wood ready to catch that flame. That might be the only flame that I get, and this way I'm sure that my fire will keep going because I have lots of material. So this will be good. Whew, what a difference a fire makes. That just changes everything. Every survival situation is bettered when you can have a fire. It's not dark yet, but it's getting there.